everybody. How are you doing? Again, we caught you again, Zara. I love catching Zara.
She so close.
So close every time. Hi, welcome to the next episode of Authortubers React. We've got some fun hot topics, and then we will probably go off script as we always do because we like to honestly, guys, we just like to talk about things. And we like to get together.
Once we get rolling, we're a runaway train.
Yes.
Yep.
That's true.
So if you've been here before, you know this.
Yeah.
So welcome, everyone. We are going to go around, let my fantastic co-hosts introduce themselves. Everyone is linked down below. We're going to start with Barrett and go clockwise around. Take it away.
Sweet. Hi, I'm Barrett Laurie. Over on my channel, I talk about my journey to traditional publishing. I write stories about ordinary queer kids living extraordinary lives. I host Critique Group Live every second Thursday of the month, and I'm also doing a weekly chat show on Mondays that is Authortube centric. See you at 1 o'clock. You.
Woo! Hi, my name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the self-published author of 6 books, a young adult paranormal romance trilogy, and a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. I have an Authortube channel that is mostly dormant aside from writing sprints on Sunday mornings. I am the co-host of the Writish podcast with this lovely lady, and I am in grad school for publishing and the newly hired assistant to a literary agent. So yeah, lots of fun things.
Yay!
Very exciting.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I am a genre-hopping writer, domestic goddess, which is a fancy way of saying I'm a stay-home mom and wife, as you can tell by my lovely backdrop of a castle with a slide and a crocodile. And on occasion, I captain the Hot Mess Express, not the Hat Mess Express. That'd be something. Hot Mess Express. Anyway, always.
I thought you were taking that out of your intro.
I thought I was too, but then I just decided to roll with it.
You leaned in.
Okay. So, yes, I am the co-creator for the Writish podcast, and I believe in the link below too, there's a form. If you have a question for Kate Kavanaugh, go ahead and fill that out because we are going to be recording with her tomorrow, I believe.
Yep. At noon Eastern.
Yes. So we're going to be asking her all the questions. So get your questions in before like midnight tonight.
Midnight tonight. And I have the Writish podcast Ko-fi linked below. Go there. You will find all of the Writish podcast information, everything that you need to fill out that form. And of course, check out the podcast.
And I think that's all for me.
Okay, great. My name is Charliee, and I am an Authortuber journaler. So like I post videos about journaling and occasionally writing because I write very slow. But we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, that is pretty much me.
And our special guests today are the one we have Kelly back, and our next special guest, first time here. We're so excited. Shanon, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Shanon. I write under the pen name SC Huston. I'm the author of 2 YA fantasy novels at the time, with my third and my trilogy coming out in June. And I have a YouTube channel also. I also have a YouTube channel under the same name of SC Huston, and currently putting out content about my self-publishing journey and my marketing strategies and what's working or not working for me.
Fantastic. And of course, Shanon also is linked down below. And I'm going to mention really quick, we are having crazy weather here on top of everything else. So if internet goes a little cray, I'm going to trust my fabulous co-host to keep things going. And I think, Shanon, you said you were having some internet issues. So we're going to roll with it, yes, guys.
Raise your hand if you have stable internet, and we'll know.
Yeah.
Normally I would clear.
Yeah.
I have stable internet.
Yes, but not today. It's like the wind is like a hurricane here. I'm like, what is going on? Things are blowing over.
Oh wow!
If you land in Oz, make sure there's Wi-Fi so you can vlog it and upload it.
Not likely in Kansas.
No, I think the more modern take is if you actually end up in another country stuck in a tree, because that's what happened in Crash Landing on You. You need to vlog that. So make sure you put your phone with your parachute.
I heard someone's like I heard you say stuck in a tree, and I was thinking of a certain spoiler of a certain book series, and I was like, oh.
I do not know that book series. Interesting.
Just saying hi to people in the chat. Thank you guys for coming to join us. You know, we get chatty before we get into the topics.
Kelly is captaining the Hot Mess Express because the kids are acting up, but she'll be back.
Ruh-roh. Well, aren't I though? Aren't I though, Richard?
Natalie, you weren't the only one who was worried you would be late. I was in a whole other town.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just got to get back in time to start the live. I can do that.
You did do that.
I did. I'm so happy. I was like,
with Zara's help, live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It was just like 10 seconds had passed on the countdown, and now it's like, go live.
I was like,
I mean, I had hit it. So I was like, if it does like it did last time when we tried to end and it wouldn't end, I'm like, but again, it's internet issues.
That was
it was very possible that we would have had this entire show just for ourselves.
Well, we were like, oh, and then Kelly started talking about personal stuff, and they're like, oh, it's not done.
I was like,
wait. Even better, that's one of those where like Kate Kavanaugh is probably too nice to like just shut it off and leave. Was sitting there thinking, oh God, this thing isn't going to end. We've been doing this 3.5 hours, y'all. Like, ooh, and we're just like, it won't stop.
It just kept going. It was like, but the topics are so good, guys. Keep going. Oh my gosh. Yes, Richard. Here we go.
I also want to say hey to Ashley Pedigo. And
hey.
Yes. There's a lot of fun. Hey, folks.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. JC's here. Hey guys. And of course, Michael is here. Always fun. Hello, Evangel. I love that name, by the way.
I know. I love that.
I do too.
Oh my gosh. I always think that's awesome. So thank you guys for coming. We've got some fun topics. I love talking about bookish pet peeves. So just all the things that get under our skin about the things that we loved most. We love books.
Wait. Sorry. Richard is saying, I want to know the behind the scenes drama. Behind the scenes drama.
Oh, there really wasn't any. Me and I were both talking about house hunting. Like,
oh yeah.
There really wasn't. We were just talking
like,
not ready to start.
Difficulties of like the far left column being like, we don't have reliable internet. I was like, is that the problem?
I think this comment is in reference to the diva comment.
I made the diva comment. Yes, and why we were late. And so I think he was like, what's the drama? And I was like, there isn't any. We were just talking about
we literally were fighting like until the last second, and then the music starts.
We're like game
still. Yeah, and I hate each other.
Oh, time to smile. Yeah.
And Charliee and I have it in for each other.
Charliee and I have to like fake it in every podcast episode and live that we're on.
Can't stand them.
Like you guys again.
Wait till they hear what I say behind their backs.
No, we have so much fun. Sometimes we just like we start talking. It's like we were supposed to go live like 5 minutes ago. Let's stop talking.
That's true.
So yeah. But I do like it when you find out, like, even when you're watching, when there's a movie or something going on, it looks like everybody's having a great time. I love it when I find out people were really having a great time behind the scenes. Yeah. When it wasn't, I get so bummed.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you love finding out that they hated it.
They hated each other. That's what I thought you were going to say, too. I was waiting for it.
I mean, well, it depends on who it is. But no, honestly.
No, but like I'm very happy that everybody was sitting along. I'm very happy that the cast of Shadow and Bone and Bridgerton seem to really like each other.
Yes.
So
the two main actresses in one of my all-time favorite TV shows got married, and I am so happy for them because I loved them in the show together. So it's like, yes.
Oh,
I love that energy.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm just like curious about the behind the scenes stuff. Like back in my day when there was the Brangelina thing was going on, everybody was like, what was going on behind the scenes to make all of that happen? Like, there's some things that just make
Well,
you.
and then we saw the movie. We were like, oh, that was happening.
Oh, that's what was going on.
That's what
Okay.
was going on there.
But then also like finding out that Josh Dallas and Jennifer Goodwin, who played like Snow White and Prince Charming on Once Upon a Time, it's like,
Yes.
oh, they wound up getting married and
And had
like,
all those kids.
and I was like,
They had a bunch
oh
of
my
kids?
god.
It's like she was constantly pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Floating Once Upon a Time.
They had to write it.
wow.
Oh my god, the amount of times I was like, this is repetitive.
That's cool.
Yes, I did know about Dirty Dancing because I watched the Netflix thing that Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze hated each other.
I've never seen
That
Dirty
was a
Dancing.
Which is
bummer.
hard to believe because like they did well.
Yeah,
I
that's
was-
why- that's
Sometimes
going up
that
for the
like
job.
tension is really good
Yeah.
on screen because like there have been interviews
Yeah.
where Nina Dobrev and Paul Wesley, who played Stefan and Elena, like they did not like each other at first, and like they like there was a fight scene, I think it's might have been season 2, might have been season 1. It was called Masquerade or whatever, and they were filming crazy late nights or whatever, and they just like had it out with each other one night, like they couldn't handle it anymore, and then they became really good friends. But it's like they were talking about like, oh yeah, like we didn't really like each other, but that played really well on screen.
That was from Vampire Diaries. Which ones were that?
Stefan and Elena.
Yeah, because I heard
Well, the
that
first one that she's dating.
Yeah.
Minor spoiler
Because
alert. It's
yeah.
been like over for almost a decade.
Yeah. Because I think Ian and Kat also did not get along the first season, and then they became like really, really good friends. Because
And then
she
they
did-
wrote it into the show.
yeah,
And then
with
that
the
basically
nice.
became the show. But yeah.
yeah, they
That's
ended up
nice.
Jennifer Grey and
she
Patrick
said that was
Swayze
really her
also.
best friend
Oh.
while they were filming. So it's good to have a friend when you're filming. But yeah, she said when they first met, she just thought, oh, he's one of those kind of guys, you know. You
Yeah.
just get a vibe of it, and then it's like, no, he wasn't like that at all, and they ended up being really great friends.
So I don't know if anyone has watched Castle here,
Yes.
but it's
Well, they
been
don't
like
like
watched
all-
some.
well, the two main
Yeah.
actors hated each other, and
Yes,
that's why
I
they
did hear
canceled the
that.
show. But when you're watching it, they just had such good like chemistry that it's unbelievable that they hated each other so much that they had to cancel.
I know.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
But
yeah.
from
They
what I
just
understand,
like her off and everything. It was
Yes,
the ones
Shannon?
from Dirty Dancing did become friends because then Patrick Swayze brought her in to Red Dawn later.
Oh,
oh, that's
Oh,
good
I
that they
didn't know
did become
that.
friends.
We love a good arc.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed.
Now somebody write that and make it a film so we could see it all.
Good Dancing Part 2.
Evangeline Perry's is a good one. I think Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher started off hating each other on the 70s show and then ended up getting married, literal enemies to lovers. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was like her first kiss, she said in an interview too.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was.
Wow.
That's even
wow.
more that's cute.
No, but like when there are interviews and people are saying like their first kiss was on camera, I'm like, you have 30 men watching you and telling you to reset like every
Yeah.
3 minutes or something because they need a new angle, and you're worried that like the actor that you're kissing and the reason I say 30 men is like back then I'm sure there weren't enough women like doing anything, and it's just like that's traumatized. That would be traumatizing for me. It's like you're being judged on how you're kissing. You're gonna be judged by all the viewers how you're kissing.
And especially if the person was like on Tiger Beat or something at the time. So you're like, oh, they're so cute and whatever else. It would be a lot. It would be a lot. Because it'd be like kissing your crush kind of in front of a bunch of men, which is
Crow
Yes.
Chronicles, we haven't talked about any of the topics. We like
I
somehow
literally
got
wrote
I'm sorry.
onto we somehow got on we were talking about like whether or not we had to pretend to like each other, and then we were talking about
Yes.
actors who look really good on
Right.
screen together, either
Right.
romantically or not, and
Right.
then turns out that they
Yeah.
hated each other. I was
Yeah.
like, how did
Or-
we get here?
How
Real
did we
quick,
get there? Mhm.
Crow Chronicles asked the question that I wanted Zara to answer. Crow, I answered this on my channel. You asked it on one of my videos, and I gave you an answer. I'm not sure it's right 100%. But Zara, would you correct? It was the question about if I self-published a book and wanted to query it.
Well, isn't that
What-
one of the topics?
Yeah,
tonight?
that is one of
Oh,
the
is it?
topics.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
since
Just
you're here,
around hot
Crow,
topics. It's getting answered.
we can get right into it. Yeah, let
Yes.
me pull up that
Right on
banner so
time.
everybody-
Just to preface
Like, don't
that
lose before.
I'm not going to be able to answer any of these questions, and I'm just here
Your
for
peanut gallery.
I'm just here to look pretty and socialize and laugh.
Check, check. And you have the
Great.
cutest accessory.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my hair. Yes.
Your co-host
All right.
stealing the show.
So how do you unpublish and then republish your work? What is how can you do it? How do you go about it if you can't? And what's the protocol? What are you allowed to do?
Okay. Well, unpublishing, super easy. You just go into your dashboard on any and all of the portals that you do. So I do draft to digital, and I do iTunes separately because apparently I like making more work for myself. And KDP. And so I would go in there, open it, and be like, unpublish. And then it stays in your thing. You can't delete them or whatever, but it gets removed from all the places where people could buy it. And then to republish it, you would need to, even if you're republishing it yourself, you would need a new ISBN. So either you could take a free one from one of those places or provide a new one. But if you're redoing it in any way, so new cover, new, like you've revised, expanded, cut, whatever, you need a new ISBN. But if this is for I'm unpublishing my self-published thing, so I can then query. You basically need to do a total rehaul, so it's not recognizable from the original version, because the publishing company is going to be the agent will be like, if people have already read it, I won't be able to sell it to a publishing company. So it needs to be different enough. And yeah, that's the quick and dirty version.
So then if you're changing it completely, to start the query process, you already need to have it taken down?
I mean, I would want it down with enough time that I'm sure that it's actually down from all the retailers before I start querying. Because if they search you, because agents will search your online presence and stuff like that, because they want to know if you're nuts, if you like go on Twitter tirades and things like that. If they find that, then they're going to be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So you completely redrafted.
Now, in the self-publishing world,
Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, sorry, I think I might be on a lag.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
In the self-publishing world, in the self-publishing world, this was actually a big thing back in like 2017, where self-publishers were unpublishing their work and republishing it, so they could re-hit, because you have that 30-day Amazon cliff, right? So after 30 days, Amazon doesn't really push your book. They wanted to get that 30-day Amazon push again by unpublishing and republishing it again. And Amazon was catching on to this and actually banning accounts at that time.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Did not know. This is so interesting.
Me either. I'm like, has anybody on here tried that little trick? I mean, was it working?
Okay.
No, Amazon caught on and started.
It was working until they caught on and then banned.
Okay. So it was actually working. Wow.
So
now they say you have to change between 10%. I don't know. But
that's wild.
They said that you had to change 10 to 15% of your book in order to republish it.
Okay, so I forget when this book was published, but does everyone remember the Ugly series?
Yes.
By someone named Scott something?
Scott Westerfeld.
Yeah, so I've always wondered, and no one probably knows the answer to this, but maybe Scott, and maybe if you actually search it up online. But one thing I was curious about is because I've seen that book on Wattpad, the full thing under the username Scott whatever, but I know that he published it with some.
It was traditionally published.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, how would that necessarily work then? Because isn't it going to a free site as opposed to staying on?
Well, it might be one of Wattpad's paid stories. His publisher might have made a deal with Wattpad stories. Margaret Atwood was posting stuff on there. So I'm pretty sure that like big name authors or established authors, because even though Scott Westerfeld has come out with other things since, it's like the Uglies or what he's most well known for. His publisher probably made a deal. I don't think these authors are going to jeopardize their publishing contracts by just posting something.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So, okay. So do you need to say that up front, or is this something if they ask about it? Like, I may have seen something similar to this. What is this? Or do you need to be upfront? Hey, I published this before.
I wouldn't put it in your query because then they're going to ask how well it sold, like how much interest is there in it. But if they like, and this is assuming you're not misrepresenting the fact that like it is essentially a new book, you know, like it's not.
Well, he said below, would new characters, a new title, new chapters, and new scenes be big enough changes to be considered accepted as a literary agent?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. So,
Right.
but what I'm saying is that for other people who are maybe like wondering the same stuff. So like we know that Crow has done, Crow Chronicles has done what they need to for this to be legit.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, then you should do that first before you then query. But you can, once you have the agent, if it's on that project, then you should tell them, but you shouldn't lead with that.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, Zara, is it a thing where editors are able to tell sales for a book if it's if an editor finds out before you're offered a contract?
So the nice thing is that oftentimes self-published numbers don't go to BookScan, which is how everyone in the publishing industry sees how much books have sold.
Okay.
But sometimes, like if you go through Ingram self-publishing,
okay.
So I think that's Ingram Spark, then they do report some of the numbers.
Okay.
Which can not be great. So if you're self-publishing through only Amazon or only through ebook, they can't really tell. There is something called pub track, which is the like ebook side of it, but Amazon is so closed-mouthed about what they share even with the traditional publishers that you're mostly fine.
Okay. I was just curious if it would matter, you know, and depending on where they'd published. So maybe Ingram Spark, they might have some numbers, but again, they'd probably assume that's just a sliver if there was a wide distribution, right?
Ingram Spark distributes through Ingram, which is how bookstores get it.
Oh,
so they would assume that it is like
because
the
of the
full
network.
picture.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious. So because I think we've all heard about a particular book that was very popular, a series that became a movie, and it was fan fiction first. So is it the same protocol to just take it down? How much needs to be changed, or does that?
So that instance, the publisher didn't really change the self-published version, which is why there's like all these errors, but the author did take it down from the fan fiction website. I don't remember whether it's fanfiction.net or the one that Kelli loves. And she changed it to, obviously have different character names, did other shit.
What is this that we're
I don't
talking
know.
about?
I didn't read the original version because I didn't know that those, like, I knew the fan fiction websites existed, but like I wasn't reading stuff on them until last year.
Yeah.
And
it's 50 Shades of Grey was fanfic for
Twilight.
There was also, though, the After series by Ann Todd.
I know.
I think.
Yeah.
But I think that also was fan fiction for
It was Harry Styles fanfic.
The Harry Styles one, yeah.
I hate that I know this when I didn't read it, and I refuse to read that series. Anyway,
I never read it either.
It's like supposedly it's like 50 Shades for teens, and I was like, we don't need this. Kelli and I actually talked about it on a podcast episode
for teens.
Yeah. So yeah, no. But anyway, she took it down and changed enough from the fan fiction website that she could then self-publish it without being like persecuted by Stephanie Meyer. But then once it was self-published, I think the publisher was just like, okay, we're grabbing this, we're slapping our name on it so we can grab some of the royalties and like, let's go. And I'm like, you should have really Done another edit.
Hey, Zara, let me ask you real quick. So the Crow Chronicles asked a follow-up to the follow-up. Do you think that if I didn't mention that I once self-published an extremely loose version of the story, it would be considered deceiving? I've contacted some agents and they said I should be honest. So you had said not put it in the query letter. I said to them in my little response, what I would have waited to do is probably tell them on the call. Like when we were talking
exactly. Like
Okay.
you don't wait until it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's been months, it's been a year, and I've been trying to sub this, and like, you know,
Yeah.
but you don't put it in the query letter
Right.
because that could scare off people.
Exactly.
Like you want to get
like,
to the next.
Yeah. Because you're going to have more time to explain, you know, it's a total rewrite. It's new chapters. It's a new title. It's new, you know, but you want that time to be able to have that discussion.
Whereas
not
if you write it in your
lines.
query, they're going to see that and they're going to be like,
Next.
I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
Yep. But once they know that they like it and they're contacting you, then that's one extra step that you made to that they'll be willing to listen to the explanation, you know, versus just the whole pass. I'm just nope.
Be forthcoming, but you don't need to like lead with it.
I like that. Forthcoming, but don't lead. Yeah. So it sounds like it's just an easier situation if it's just fanfic, or if it's something that, what if it's something that you published on like your own website? Like it wasn't.
They'll want you to unpublish it. They'll want you to change it enough that, you know, it's like if it came from something that was up before, that's not a deal breaker, but it needs to be its own thing enough that if someone's reading it, like maybe they read the old version and they'll be like, oh, like this got expanded so much or whatever, versus other people who would never know that it was from something else. You know, it's not like, oh, it was a full story, but then you just added a bunch of stuff at the end so you could say that I changed a certain percentage of the book.
I don't know. I just read Barrett's comment and I thought it said, hey, Crow. It says, how are you, my friend? I thought I read that as now you are my friend. And I'm like, I thought this was established.
Oh, I thought it read, hey, Crow, are you my friend? Which is basically asking the same thing.
And what's funny is all I forgot to do was put a question mark. So it's like it was actually written right. It was just a question
Kelly
mark.
and I are apparently sharing the brain cell tonight, and it's not doing well. But I hope
a
we
mind
have it
meld.
tomorrow.
Regina, me, you same. I never want to yuck anyone's yum because I know it got so many people to read who don't even normally read, because I had friends who never talk about reading anything who were like, have you read this? And I'm like, I'm glad you enjoy it. You know what I mean?
I hate myself that I read all of them plus the one from his point of view, the same way that I read all of the Twilight ones plus the one from his point of view. But like for those, I was stupidly a completionist, and I was like, DNF exists. So I do that now, but I didn't do it on those series. Morbid curiosity for the male point of view books.
Yeah, I've read excerpts just because, well, some of them because they popped up because people were talking about them. So there's certain excerpts from that I'm just like, oh.
The one from Midnight Sun is like crazy. He spends like a whole chapter being like, after he first smells her in biology class, he's like, okay, if I kill her first, how fast can I kill everyone else in the class? Versus if I kill everyone else in the class, she could scream, but at least like no one could run out and like whatever. And I'm like,
I watched the Crimson Rogue give a review for that, and it was like a nice meaty 2-hour or 3-hour review, and Logan was listening to it.
I'd be like, too long, didn't watch.
I love really meaty book reviews because then I don't have to read the book. And 50 Shades or Twilight was something I already did not have an interest in reading. Just because of the 50 Shades thing, because it's like, oh, BDSM. And it's like from the little bits I got, I'm like, not BDSM.
So here's the thing is that I know the person who, through a friend of a friend, I know the person who did the like production design on those films, unfortunately. So I like felt obligated to watch the films, and like, yeah, his production design was great, but then they had interviews where they're like, oh yeah, we had an expert, and then like the director and the actors were like, that's too far. So they still like gave a bad representation, even though they could be like, we had an expert on set, and it's like, yeah, but clearly you didn't listen to said expert.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everyone's allowed to like their own things. Like, that's fine.
As long as you don't act that out, because that's just red flag.
Yeah. And no need to apologize for the questions. We just like talking about this kind of stuff. If we don't know, we can give you our best guess and tell you. But there's a lot of things that, because Barrett's been in marketing and Zara is actually going into the agenting side
She's on the track. Yeah,
that
one of the
you'll
tracks.
actually get some knowledgeable advice, which I love, because a lot of times we don't really know. I'm like, well, I've heard and I've seen
Wow.
this, but
Yeah.
we don't always know. So it's
There's
always
also
good to
a
ask.
lot of subjective stuff. So there might be an agent who you tell them that on the phone call, and then they're like, okay, I'm out. And other ones who would be like, fine. But that
Right.
timeline is general enough that you can be like, okay, don't put it in the query, but tell them.
Yeah.
And then if they nope out, then that's not the agent for you.
And there are some agents that actually specify on the manuscript wish list if they take things that have already been
Previously
published. Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
So what would you think would not be a big enough change?
I said my comment
Would you-
back from what you've told us about that particular manuscript. It's good. Like title, chapter heading, significant rewrites. Like it is practically a new story. You're solid. Like
Yeah, you're fine. But in general,
Zara will know.
in general, if you're just changing names, if you add a little change to the plot, like, oh, instead of, although, I mean, this could cascade, so maybe it's not a little change, but it's like, if you change so-and-so's best friend from being their best friend to being their sister or something, like, that's not really a change unless there's something where it's like, oh, well, the sister knows family drama, which is different than what, like, the best friend would have known, which then affects the rest of the story. That could then count as enough. But if you're adding stuff or doing a rewrite, you're generally fine. It's more if you're just like finding and replacing in your document, that's not doing enough.
So
changing the font, is that enough?
No.
Okay.
So if you wrote Twilight, but instead of werewolves, everyone was like a Loki, like a little dog, that wouldn't be enough.
I mean, it would change the plot. It would have plot implications, so it could be enough. But if you left every other word the same, that would not be enough.
So just adding a prologue and an epilogue, not enough.
Not enough.
I mean, it might be enough for Amazon about what Shanon was saying, depending on how long your prologue and epilogue are, if that takes up like 10 to 15% of your story. But definitely not for traditional publishing.
Oh, wait. So, okay, then maybe I misunderstood. So for what Shanon was saying about the 30 days on Amazon was tracking that because the chapters, the first chapters were the same. Is that how they were doing it?
It's not only that, but they would, I mean, that's really how they scanned it, because they're not going to scan the whole book necessarily all the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, how do they catch you?
Yeah, because wouldn't you, all the reviews and everything also be null and void every time you deleted it?
But it would they were also probably doing it from the same service.
Oh.
So I'm sure they did stupid shit like that.
And don't forget that even though you unpublish a work, it still stays there because Amazon doesn't get rid of those past works because people can sell their used books.
Oh, true. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
That happened too. That is happening. I don't think it's that common anymore for me. But I had published the Belgrave Legacy, like the first part of it, which was completely rewritten for this version, because then I was fitting a whole trilogy, what I thought was going to be a whole trilogy, into one book. So I needed to take out some cliffhangers. I needed to make things smoother. I realized that in doing that, other things needed to change. But I had published the first, like, part 1 as the Belgrave daughter. And there are, like, sometimes still like used copies being sold for like over
Oh.
$70, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna buy that. So
Oh, wow.
I'm not worried.
You're famous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we become the famous agent, everybody's gonna wish that they had their copy.
Boom. Yeah, you should make authors buy it as a way to suck up to you.
Oh my gosh.
No thanks. I don't need to be accused of having bad ethics before I've
that's
even
true.
been
You're right,
promoted
you're right,
to
you're right. I'll
agent.
do it
I'm
for
only
you.
an assistant.
I'll do it for
Barrett's
you. It
gonna
may
work
help you
for
if you
you.
buy her books. Oh, bless.
Oh my gosh.
I did see it, not to like digress, but Michael said that I looked comfy. This is my favorite blanket. I got it from a Gabe's and it was $7 and it's huge and it's so soft
Looks great.
and I love it.
Oh, I love
Amazing.
a soft
Me
blankie.
too.
Yes.
Yes, they're so comfy.
They are.
Big
All
fan.
right.
What's the next topic?
Yeah,
Or
we're
was-
gonna
Yeah, I want
wanna
to
get
not
Target
talk
Crow.
the whole time.
Yeah, you
And
well,
I feel like
unfortunately,
there's so many crows
you're
now.
getting one more question. So in my book, most of the scenes and ideas are the same. However, the antagonists are different. The theme is different. The characters are different.
You're
this
fine.
changes the title. You're fine.
Yeah,
You're
You're
fine.
fine.
You're
It
fine.
sounds like
You
you
were
really
fine
did a
the
lot of
first
work.
time you said the changes you're making.
Yeah.
You're
They're only
fine.
gonna say no is the worst
Yeah.
they can say. You know,
Yeah.
they're not gonna say like your baby's ugly. Like that's too much.
They don't have time to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
We know. We haven't seen you on
I told
YouTube.
Kelly. I told Kelly that there was an agent that she had been like, oh, this agent opened to queries again or whatever, and then I saw that the agent a week later had like tweeted out, was like, I already have 1,000 queries in my inbox that I haven't gotten through.
Yes.
And I was like, see, this is why they don't have time to be like,
Exactly.
it's
Hateful.
not for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And no is a complete sentence.
When I thought I was going to completely do another rewrite of a draft and fast draft it in 12 days and go ahead and make sure that I'm in their query box like as soon as March 1st hit. And then I think it was the second day and I'm like, yeah, I wrote 3,000 words yesterday. It's not happening again today. I liked taking it slow. I don't want all this extra pressure on myself. I'm enjoying this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you did what was best for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
So I still flash back to that one. Oh no.
No, we got you.
Yay.
Yeah. You know, Richard, this would probably be the only way I would actually read it all the way through. I just read it just out of curiosity to see what it was like when it was fanfic. Like, is it
But
really exactly
it
the
would
same?
cannibalize their sales, so they would never do it.
Yeah.
Like if they had done it as a pre-order campaign for Grey, which is 50 Shades of Grey written from Christian's point of view, then it would have been something that they might have considered, but they're never going to do it now. They're too far in.
Yeah, let me just real quick, Nia, so we don't come to it later. I still think Crow, the answer is going to be the same. Honesty is the best policy. Again, you can do what you actually at this point do what you want. We've given you the advice 3 different times. You should do what you want.
Yeah.
So sorry to pull the professor card, but there you go.
Oh yeah, Barrett
That did sound like a professor. Oh
that
my
did
God.
sound very
Sorry about it.
professor-like. But yeah, I think you're good.
You're
but I
good.
can understand that
You're good.
being worried. You want to do
Nervous,
it
sure.
right.
Totally.
Yeah, you wanna
totally.
do
And
it
it's
right.
the dream
Yeah.
agent, right?
But
Like,
our
so
answer
totally.
isn't going to change.
The answer,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
You're totally good. And here's the thing: if the agent comes back and says, "Listen, that was my deal breaker," then they were not your person. Just like Zara said a couple of rounds ago, because she is
Rounds ago.
the person who will be doing the dump, the dumping. So like she knows. Yeah, it comes out every once in a while. Still, they should pay me for that job. I miss that salary. It would make house buying easier.
Oh, it looks like a snow globe
That
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Barrett says you are good, dude. Don't worry. Don't worry. You got this. You're good.
Yes.
So the one topic that I wanted to talk about, because I didn't know that this could happen. Okay. So I did know that with Amazon, all right, they only want you to be able to publish your stuff behind a paywall if you want to use, their KDP or their Kindle Vella. But I didn't know how much of your stuff you're allowed to put out there publicly. So how do you get a copyright strike on your own work? And I will say Mama Maggie mentioned this on Barrett's stream. I don't know how much of it that she would once told, but if you could give us any insight on, you know, what happens here, how does this happen, and is it okay? Can we read our own work?
Yes. So yes is the answer. The thing I would say is on your own channel, on your own spaces, you're in no way in violation of Amazon's rules, according to what YouTube told us at CGL. The problem at CGL is that it wasn't their channel. It was on my channel. And so it wasn't a problem for them in general. I feel like it was a problem just for the KU people or the KDP. I don't know the difference between them, but it was some specific group that was getting hit by Amazon, not YouTube. YouTube hit us with, Amazon hit us with a strike. And then all we had to do was tell YouTube that the
KU
author
is part of KDP.
had read it themselves.
Okay.
What?
KU is part of KDP.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
then
either of those is correct, but you don't need to say both in this instance.
so one of them was getting them in trouble with their story, like at Amazon. It was a problem they had, the writer would have with Amazon, which is why I don't think it was Maggie, because the
It was
person I was
probably
thinking of,
KU then, because
not
KDP, if you can go wide,
so it was not
beyond
that.
KDP, but if you're in KU, you can't
Right.
anywhere else for
Right.
90 days.
Right. So anyway, so all we had to do was get a thing from that author that we gave to YouTube to take away the copyright strike for us. And I think Amazon did the strike. I don't think the author did it. Because when we let them know it was happening, we were like, hey, and you may get in trouble on Amazon, and they had an issue with Amazon on their own. So that's what I know from our limited experience. But I think the self-published people will know more deets on like the who's, what's, where's of that. Beyond the YouTube.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything specifically for self-published authors, but I know back in 2015, Paul Davids he's a guitar channel, and he makes his own guitar riffs and soundtracks. And he put one out in 2015. Well, a few years later, 2018, someone used his soundtrack to add another guitar and vocals, and he got a copyright strike on his video for his work. So, and he reached out to the author who added the vocals, and he said he didn't do the copyright strike. So I don't know who did.
You want to hear something crazy to add off of that with music? So PewDiePie makes music, and he leaves it so that way people can actually take it and add it to their videos. Like, he just creates it so that other people can use it. And there are companies that go on there that he has no connection with, and he's reacted to this. He's made videos about it, and YouTube still won't fix it. But they say that they've claimed it on behalf of Felix, and insert his very Swedish last name. And he's like, it's stupid. I've fought YouTube on this. They won't do anything about it because I did not tell these people to go do this because I want my music to be free. Like, he even gets striked whenever it's on his own channel and it's his music. And I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Here's the
Maybe
thing,
it's a YouTube algorithm or something.
Yeah. So here's the thing, is that
it is.
it's automated on both Amazon and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they oftentimes just don't care enough to investigate and see who's the actual
owner, or
wrong party, the real owner, the whatever. They give people to run around. I'm slightly confused that they're doing it to PewDiePie, given how big he is.
Huge.
Oh, yeah.
But like in general, they're not gonna care. So if they're just like, oh, it's the same between these two channels, they're probably gonna punish the one with fewer views, maybe. I don't remember, but it's not great.
From being a very tiny channel that is monetized, one of the things that I have found is that if you do get a copyright strike, they don't necessarily want you to take your video down, depending on what it is. But they'll still put commercials on your video, but they want the money. So
Of course they do.
Yeah, well,
They're making so that I think sometimes if that might be what it's about. If they're very popular, they're making a lot of money. They're not making like me. I make 25 cents. You know, that's one video I make a quarter if I'm lucky.
You're making something. I'm not. I'm not at 1,000 yet.
You will be.
Subscribe to Zara.
Listen, you just have to have the time to put in, and you've been swamped, right? Like, seriously, you've been a little bit busy.
But also they'll just like take numbers from me. It's like they're like, oh, you finally hit like 930. It's like I've been watching the numbers and I know who's been subscribing. I should have hit 950 by now.
I finally got some of mine back. Oh my gosh. Every time you're like getting close to a milestone, and I like you, YouTube. Please don't take my people away from me for saying this.
Okay, so
but yeah, people, you can see them. They subscribe. And you're like, yay, people subscribe. And then they're gone. Like they're just gone. Like the number drops.
They're raptured away from
And
me.
like you'll get 2 back at a time, then you're nothing. And then one day you'll just get them all back. And they're like, oh, YouTube's like, okay, I guess they are coming to. Like, are you testing them? Are you testing them to see if they actually want to come to my channel? I don't know what that is about. I'm like, do you think they're bots? Well, I don't want bots. So if it is a bot, please go ahead and, unsubscribe them. But if it's a real people.
Yeah. See,
the day that I met Barrett, I had like 20 people subscribe to my channel the day that he talked about me in one of his videos. Let me see if I got that right. There we go. I had 20 people. Yeah. 20 people subscribed to me in one day after he mentioned my name. And 2 days later, it had dropped by 10.
Yep.
So
and I was like at 50 something or 20 something, somewhere between 20 and 50, somewhere in there. So that was a lot for me.
The milestone.
Yeah, so 2 things. First off, I went through my personal YouTube account the other day because I was trying to figure out why nothing in my feed matched what I was subscribed to. And I realized that YouTube like unsubscribed me to half of the people that I had subscribed to. So I had to go find those accounts and resubscribe to them. And second, I've had so many copyright strikes against me, which is the most insane thing because I've used YouTube audio free copyright music for the longest time. The official YouTube free copyright thing.
Right.
And when I go in to see who's doing those strikes against me, because you always have to copy and paste things. So I'm always cautious that I'm copying and pasting the right thing. It is a completely different channel that is copywriting me. So I have to go in, I have to write your little argument. And in my argument, I'm like, this is from YouTube. Please look at my credits below. And here's the YouTube link to the actual video. And then they release my video, but it's kind of annoying because it's YouTube's official album library. So
Their audio library. Yeah, I did some stuff from them. I in one of my last, it might have been the last vlog I posted, my audiobook narrator had posted on her Instagram story that like, oh, I finished the book, and she was playing a King of Pride Rock from Lion King underneath it. I like knew it immediately, and we were joking about that. And I'd put it in my video, completely forgetting that was the audio because I forgot to strip out the audio before I put it in. And it was like, oh, here's this thing. What do you want to do? And I was like, just take out the audio on that section because you could read what she had written, and it wasn't like she was speaking over it or anything. But I was just like, oh, that was stupid.
Yeah. I want to make sure, Barrett, you said Crow was asking, the other Crow, was it reading parts of the book that caused the strike?
Yes.
Because I would think that they would want people spreading the word about the book. You would think so.
You would think. So yes, it was. And I'll tell you 2 things. So one, this is when we shortened the time from 10 minutes to 5 because we were getting strikes every month. And it
I didn't know
they're
that.
like Bex and I were convinced it was somebody who was like anti-gay, like hated. Like we had this whole thing in our head that finally we were like, I think it's the stories. But anyway, so when we shortened the time to 5 minutes, then that fixed most of it. We only had 1 issue since then. But yes, it was from reading a longer portion of stories. I'm sure one was KU. The other one might have been a Vella story. I can't remember, but
Has. Yeah. Honestly, I think they have stricter rules than
same situation. Yeah, similar situation. So it was one of each of those, and it was for one of them almost the whole darn thing because again, 10 minutes. So we used to give people a long time to read, which is why they were 4 and 5 hour long shows, and I was tired and grumpy. So.
But we liked them, Barrett.
Bring it
It's like
back. We
we
don't
really
care. We
felt-
don't care about your emotional state.
I know, exactly. Who
Yeah,
cares?
Barrett, we liked it. No,
Nothing
some of you guys, because some of y'all are here, when y'all read, it's literally like listening to an audiobook, and I can just sit back.
Mm.
I remember Colin did one, and I had
Oh.
to work because I work on Thursdays, and so I had to drive to work, and it was like listening to an book, listening
Yeah.
to his voice while I was driving.
Well,
to work.
he
It's
is an
fantastic.
audiobook narrator. So.
Yeah.
He's
Yes,
doing
he
it
is.
now.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm so
that's
glad.
awesome.
I'm so glad
That-
because
Bex too. I mean, Bex has one of those voices with certain stories where you're just like, "Ooh, wow!" Like,
Oh,
Oh
that's,
wait, but is Bex a narrator?
no.
Okay.
But I just
I
meant
was like, "Oh, did I miss?"
Carly
I
got really
listened-
excited.
I've sat listening before and been like, "Oh, I could listen to a book." You know how that is with somebody. You're just like, "I could listen and read the book."
Nia should get into it because
Same.
I think it was the Little Mermaid, like the retelling fairy tale, the thing that you do, Nia. And I was listening to it and I was like, you need to do this next.
My kids were listening to that. They're like, "Oh, this reminds us of." I'm like, "Do I really have a good storytelling voice?" Because I
Yes.
think my own voice is annoying. But
Everyone thinks their
Okay.
own voice is annoying.
Yeah.
It's because we're not hearing it resonate through all the cavities in our bones. So to other people, it sounds deeper, whereas to us, it sounds like higher and more annoying.
mhm.
That is
Yeah.
the deepest, most profound way I've heard anyone reassure me about the sound of my voice.
Thank you for that.
That was
Sarah.
beautiful. I am gonna message you next time I have to give a speech or something. Like, tell me the thing about my bones and the resonation again.
It's like I have to read another short story, Zara. Please tell me it's okay.
Well, I edit our podcast, and obviously I was editing videos. And I with the videos, I had to get over me not liking the sound of my voice. But then by the time I've been editing the podcast episodes, I was like, I have to get over the fact that Kelly and I sometimes inhale in between sentences. So now I don't even care about that when I'm editing a YouTube video. So I'm like, you get more lax the more you do it. But yes, scientifically, there is a reason why it sounds different. And it's because we are hearing ourselves differently on a recording because it doesn't, yeah.
You don't realize how many times you inhale and you breathe before you have to listen to it.
Or say yeah, like so.
But also a phone call specifically, I don't know exactly how much they compress in audio for a video or something, but phone companies will get rid of the top and the bottom range of the audio, so you just legit sound differently on a phone call because you're not getting everything. So there's also that. So there's the, resonance from your biology, and then also when technology is like, we're not going to give you the whole thing because that's more expensive. So we're going to cheapen costs.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Crow, I know Charlie was saying that this has happened to her. This has definitely happened to me. There have been times where I was specifically waiting for someone's video. And then on that day, I'll just log into YouTube and where is it? And it doesn't show up. I'm like, maybe I got the time zone wrong or the day wrong. And then come to find out, they'll post on Instagram that it's already happened. And I'm like, what? And it's because YouTube's just unsubscribed me.
Exactly.
I'm just like,
there's only been one time I've gone and remembered later I forgot that I unsubscribed to them. Every other time it was definitely YouTube. But the one time it was me. But every other time, YouTube.
I mean, I've unsubscribed from channels, not any Authortube, but big channels that I never watch anymore.
Same.
But then if I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from this Authortube person in forever, I'm like, I should check on that.
Did you poop again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, truth.
No.
And it doesn't seem like there's any pattern to why YouTube does it, because I'll stay subscribed to someone who posts videos once every 6 months, but the people who post videos every week, I don't know, it's just weird.
Maybe it's if you're not clicking on every single video they post, they
I don't
think
know.
you're not interested. I don't know.
Oh, congrats.
Congrats. Yes.
yay.
That's great.
Yay.
That's fantastic.
Crushing it.
How many subscribers do you have to get before you get the community tab, that coveted community tab?
500.
500. Oh, sometimes I wish YouTube would make it easier like Twitch does.
Did you guys get the
but I
survey?
got the community tab and was so surprised. And it's like, oh yeah, they lowered the threshold from the 1,000.
Yeah.
To
I know, me too. I was like,
because
yeah,
I think they were trying to. I think they're trying to compete with Twitch, which is
Oh,
why
yeah.
they now have like
Oh,
the memberships on channels and
Yep.
the
Mhm.
custom emotes and all those and super chats and all these things. It's like,
They basically said it without saying it at their year-end like email to all creators. It was basically
yeah, no,
That's what I'm
absolutely.
gonna do
But it
those
was like even before they
Yes.
sent it out, it's like we all know what you're copying. The same way like when
Yes.
Instagram introduced stories
Yeah,
and then
yes.
Twitter introduced stupid fleets.
right.
the
Which,
reels.
by the way,
Yeah.
my gay friends everywhere, when Fleet was the name, like I was like between my Crohn's people and gay people, like that was not it. Like somebody at that team had to be like, really? Is this it? Is this the name you want to go with? Okay.
But it's not a thing anymore, right?
What?
I think
The fleets.
they got rid of it.
I think it's
yeah.
gone. I think
I think they got rid of it.
I don't think it's even still a thing. It was only like 6 months or so on Twitter before it was like, no.
But
that's
I
not-
kept seeing it like at the top of my thing and
Yeah.
and being surprised. But yeah, it's definitely gone.
'cause
the
you know
only
how they
time I
push them
used-
forever.
Yeah, the only time I used fleets was when I was getting lost in my pitch war tweets. So I just like fleet my
Yep.
own 3 tweets so I
Yep.
knew where they were, and that was that.
But now Twitter has Twitter Spaces because they're trying to compete with Clubhouse, which like everyone loved Clubhouse for like a hot second, and now like I don't hear about it at all except my audiobook narrator, who like all the audiobook narrators who are like in this coalition or
really-
something, they do it.
That was really a hot second because I remember I heard for it for like a week and then it just disappeared forever.
I didn't even know what it was, and my roommate who was like back in China because it was in the middle of the pandemic. I'm so sorry, Nia.
What
Oh,
happened?
she's almost an hour in. You're fine.
Okay. Where she like invited me and my mom and my mom was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I know you're not going to believe me because you think I know everything, but I honestly don't know what this is."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't even. I was like, "What is?" Oh, yeah, we're not supposed. But I don't think that they care. I've had.
I think
people
we're
say
past
it
it. I've noticed
before.
people saying it all the time now.
Yeah,
So
I think as long as it
it's
doesn't start out with it or whatever the subject around it is, maybe also.
I've mentioned it in passing in over half of my YouTube videos. So the first time I heard that you couldn't say that word was probably on a live stream.
But
Yeah,
like I'm not monetized, but I know
Yeah.
she is, so I'm
Yeah.
like,
right.
I've
It
got a
doesn't-
way around it. It just means I'll just mute out the one little word,
Word.
and then I'll lose the chat. That's the only thing because I don't pop every comment up. So I like to keep the chat if I can keep the chat.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing.
I don't think it's a
I
thing,
know
though,
I
'cause
get
I have
I get
noticed people
dislikes on
saying it.
weird stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know. I'm like, what is? We talked about the Hunger Games. Why am I getting a?
Oh, did you guys get a strike?
yeah,
I wondered
she
if
got
you
a
would. I
strike.
wondered if you would on
She got a strike
Oh.
on the Hunger Games one. Did you also get a strike on any of the other scripting the book ones?
Do you know?
Probably because the Hunger Games. Well, actually, Bridgerton's.
I know that's the
New,
one
I
I
know.
was worried about. I'm
like,
like,
the Hunger Games is the most popular, but then I'm like, is it
Bridgerton.
though? Like,
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, and I'm wondering. I just did the little dispute thing, and it was fine. They wouldn't even tell me what it was. Like
Uh-oh.
sometimes they'll tell you this segment. Like
Oh, yeah.
when I did my dance party, they let me know it's just this little segment here, and I'm like, oh, that's fine, so I know what it is. But sometimes they don't tell you what it is, and I'm like with that one, they didn't say what it was. I'm like, well, if you tell me what I did, I can fix it. But I just disputed it, and then they were like, oh, okay, I guess you're fine. And
Oh,
I'm like,
okay,
yeah,
that's
that's
you
cool.
actually talked
random.
about it, and
When I sang a Disney song, I'm like,
Oh well.
oh well,
Yeah.
The mouse? Are you
Mine?
kidding?
yeah,
Wow.
no, you never go up against the House of Mouse.
No.
I'm like, I'm
That
not
was
going
a
to
good
even argue with
animated
that one.
show, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, they had
I'm gonna watch it.
Disney's House of Mouse or whatever, but then for like Halloween special, it was Disney's House of Villains or whatever. So the villains like completely like they just tied up all the heroes and like took over the stage, and it was like fabulous. So
It was great. I
that,
remember.
yeah,
that.
right. I'm not the only one. Thank you.
Oh, I've always been a Disney villains. Like, yes, here for it.
Not here for all the villains though. Just some.
Vintage Fire. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a Hook person, but yeah.
Yeah, not into Hook, not into Frollo, but like
Yeah, no. I'm
Scar
good.
was deliciously evil. Maleficent,
Maleficent.
Ursula.
Ursula.
Maleficent and Ursula.
Flipsum and Jepsum.
Maybe.
Cruella.
I would go
Cruella.
back and forth on Jafar.
Oh, yeah, it depends.
Yeah. I find him more creepy than villainy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Frollo is all creepy.
Yeah.
If you've
That's
ever watched
true.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
That's true.
Yeah. That was. Oh. Let me see.
Michael says, I've never gotten a strike. Not even YouTube's algorithm can figure out my riddles. True. No lies in that whole post.
Oh my gosh. If you haven't been to one of Michael's riddle streams,
Oh.
just go.
Oh
You'll
my
Yeah.
god!
tickle.
Like,
You
okay,
will
so
We take
Michael,
some headache medicine first.
Michael is like always inviting me, and I feel bad because even before I got my job, where I'm like working during that time,
Awesome.
like I would be doing a ton of homework or something so that I could be streaming like on the weekends or whatever. But also, part of me is like, oh my god, I'm thankful that I can't make it because I don't have to sit there on screen and be like, I don't know what this is.
You learn something new every time.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I even have the brain cells for it this year. Like this beginning of this year has been so insane. Like first I hardly have time to get there, but then my brain cannot think. Like last year I was catching on to Michael. I'm like, I got this. I can see where you're going, and now I'm just like, I can't think of anything.
I mean,
I can't even write. I haven't
Your
even written this
attention
sad.
span is being pulled every which way by your kids' needs for like
Fair.
getting married.
Yeah.
One or two of them need a house, and it's like there's so much.
I would like for one of the other ones to get a house, but now the market's not great, and I'm just like, I wish you would have done this when I wanted you to.
I know Ricky and I are doing the same thing right now. We're like, we hate ourselves. We should have done this 6 months ago. I want to answer Jenna O'Malley says darkest villain from the mouse, Michael C.B. Chin's riddles. Good question. It's the worst.
We love the riddles. That is why we keep
villain
going back. I swear.
from the mouse.
I'm
I think
addicted.
it's
I
called
am addicted
Stockholm
to
syndrome.
They are really cool, but takes a lot of thought.
It does. All right, let's try to squeeze in one more topic before we switch over. What did I want to? Okay, what I wanted to talk about is, did we ever figure out what the heck was Squeakcore?
No.
Yes.
Did anybody try to figure out exactly?
Charlie, help us understand.
So I didn't finish the live discussion on Jess Owen's channel,
Mhm.
but Jess Owen has a very long 2-hour discussion on it, which is a reaction to the original podcast and article that was made about it. And from what I kind of got from what I did watch from the live stream, is it's basically this all-encompassing word to describe a trend in the sci-fi fantasy market that should be eradicated.
It's a specific
What
trend
is
that
the
should be
trend?
eradicated, or
So,
it's a term where it's like,
and
oh,
the-
this needs to be canceled.
Oh, maybe canceled. Maybe canceled's a
Yeah.
better term. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's
I like
like-
eradicated better myself, but yes,
So-
Sorry, go ahead, Shannon.
So here's, I have the exact.
Oh no, Shannon's got it, and she's
Oh
freezing
no,
on us.
did we lose her?
need to know. It's like
There
very
she is. There she
dramatic.
is. She's back. Nope.
This is
Nope.
very dramatic. We're all like,
This
What
is.
is
It's
it?
like
Oh,
Shannon
wait.
has the answer and she's
Okay.
frozen.
I have
Hello?
the exact definition.
You're breaking up.
Who decide to use it in a certain way? What they called it.
This is a
Oh,
good
no, are you
riddle.
not hearing me?
It's amazing.
No,
You're only
it's
hearing like
breaking up.
every
Okay,
I'll
fourth
come back out. Come back
word,
in. But I have.
and you're frozen like this, which is actually a good pose.
It
for
really
the freeze.
is.
We have discussed it on this channel. There is a graceful and an ungraceful pose.
Well,
Yes.
I got frozen really badly one time.
You've had some.
it was beautiful.
Some of
You
Zara's
look like
the best.
sleeping Zara. It was so sweet.
There's sleeping Zara. There was eating Zara one time on Zara's own. That's one of my favorites. That's gold.
All right, Shannon's popping back in.
Okay. Oh,
Yay.
Do we got you, Shannon?
I'm so sorry. The weather here is
What?
just kind of
Please.
No
Awful.
This is a
worries.
laid
Wait,
back
say
group.
what you're trying to say before
Yeah,
it
do you
fails
have me?
again.
Yeah, we
Yes,
got you.
Do you have me?
Yes.
we got you, Shannon.
Got me? Yes. I'm so sorry. The weather here is so awful.
No.
Okay.
No,
So
no
the
worries.
do you guys have me?
Yes.
Okay. So the two people who decided to run with this term, because it first came on Twitter, but they decided to run with it. This is what they say: a style of quippy, fluffy, moralistic, fanish, centrist, Josh Whedon-esque speculative writing that touts itself as important activism, but is mainly middle of the road escapism.
Ooh.
I love that they threw in Josh Whedon.
Yeah.
And middle of the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
also,
like
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love like their, early episodes of Buffy before they did that really, really bad episode.
Mhm.
Which even the actors hated doing. So
Yeah.
So I feel like they threw in the Josh Whedon part just to make us agree with them. Like, yeah, that's bad.
Just
but I
like
think
that.
also
like,
like it's
what's-
really evocative because some of the other stuff I'm like, you're just saying words. Like
yeah.
So yeah, so okay. According to the podcast that I did not watch, there's like a whole list of like what this definition encompasses. Like it's like Tolkien-esque, and it's of course there's the whole big. It's mainstream, but it's also trying to teach you something. But because it's mainstream, it's not working out, so therefore it shouldn't be involved type of thing. And then they give a list of other books that are like 12 years old that shouldn't be published nowadays because
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that falls under that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting.
So I'm not getting
They
like,
basically
what
say
this is exactly.
gentrifying science fiction and fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes it seemed like they were making a good point and then they would contradict it. And it was like weird.
yeah.
So part of it was like they're like because I think they have beef with N.K. Jemisin, but I'm like, I would think that N.K. Jemisin is writing the kind of sci-fi fantasy that you would like because it's not mainstream or mediocre.
Right.
And it's definitely not squeeish. And I think
Right.
they use squee to make it more negative, like it's a dig at fan fiction because fan fiction uses the word squee. They use squee.
Did they?
I actually have never heard this word before. I thought it was a
Me
game
neither.
that you played at like a.
I've heard
Pokemon.
squee, but it's mostly like fan people when they're, and I use this term gender neutrally, but like fangirling, where they'll be like squee.
So they
I'm so
talked about
excited.
that. They
Yeah.
talked about the fangirl because they actually did 2 podcasts. I've listened to the full.
Oh, there was
podcast
another one.
Okay.
And there's a new one that just came out, and I only got halfway through it before the show.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
you did more research than we did.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, invested in
I'll
it.
listen to it.
Second podcast, and their second podcast, they said this is not the fangirl squee. It's just overall fandom squee.
Okay.
So they do not need to put it as a gender. But yeah. But I think yes, I don't agree with all of it. They what they're saying is that a lot of the fantasy fiction that's come out, fantasy sci-fi that's come out recently, is about this happy endings, basically, like good worlds. We're not really digging into the things that are wrong politically, things that are wrong with all, everything, whether gender or race, whatever. We're not digging into those issues like the way we should. We're just using token characters without actually digging into it. And they say it's
But that's
because
all
of,
fiction.
times.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's because
That's
it's
all of fiction,
mainstream.
except all
Right.
the contemporary own voices where authors then have to write about their trauma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it seems like because I'm like, I remember I asked on the live when Just did the live, I'm like, so basically, if you're just reading sci-fi or fantasy because you just enjoy it and it ends up with a happy ending, that's bad. And they're like, and she's like, it's not that you're bad you're just wrong for liking it. They're bad for writing it. And it's just like, it's
Sit
like
down.
Yeah.
it's like,
I'm
how
gonna
do
say
you
People
tell
act
me?
much of
There's
this
an
is making
audience
it
for
the
everything.
mainstream.
Everything doesn't have to be dark.
Right.
Everything doesn't have to have that sad, gloomy ending. Maybe the
People
panini is
can, like,
bad enough.
okay,
Maybe
I've
give me
been
my happy
seeing-
ending and leave
I've
me
been
alone.
seeing a lot of things online where it's like, of course when I read a romance, I want a happy ending. That's why I'm reading it, because I know I'm going to get it. Like, there's enough
Otherwise, I'll
depressing
read a
stuff in
drama or
the
a
world that
tragedy.
if I'm going to something to be happy,
Yeah.
then let me enjoy it. And then, like in this case, like I feel like when I read a fantasy, which is very rare because now my brain space is like completely filled up with school and work, but and podcast. But like, if it has a happy ending and it doesn't feel forced, then it's like, can't I enjoy a happy ending? I'm not saying that I don't like books that maybe don't like have a pretty little bow on it. I can appreciate those stories, but if I enjoy something happy, let me be happy.
Okay, so are they just complaining then that it's too
that issues is mainstream? That they're not
so
digging
it's too
deep.
What's mainstream?
Oh, I get it. You mean you mean the books, instead of like digging into social issues, they're popular. They're writing to be mainstream and whitewashing those issues. Is that kind of what you mean? Or they're saying is happening?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what is being. That's what is being.
It's just not
touched by the traditional. Right.
But
and instead of like these other voices that are talking about these issues, they're not being uplifted by the traditional popular media.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like basically like I don't know if y'all saw on Twitter. I only get on Twitter for publishing-ish, but there is a book, a romance book that's going out that does not need to be out. Is that what these
the Nazi romance one?
Yes, that one. I'm so mad about it.
I still don't know the title because no one has stopped subtweeting, and I'm like, I need the actual title so I can tell my boss.
How terrible it is.
I have not
sold at auction.
I have no idea what we're talking about. This feels much spicier than whatever squee is.
Also, you all see
What
the
is
stupid.
this?
Oh, okay. Speaking of stupid publishing stuff, let me tell you about publishing TikTok, because apparently there's a book called A MAGA Hat Romance. And I'm like, this sounds terrible. If you go on Amazon, it's only 70 something pages. That's not a novel. It's a pamphlet. That's what that is. I'm going to pull up the thing.
Well, wait, is this the Nazi book? Or
No. The
Okay.
Nazi romance book has like a Nazi as the hero, and I looked it up trying to find the title, and there was another thing that came up from like 2015, 2013, and then there's a Goodreads list of stories, like romance stories with Nazi heroes, and I was like, why is this a thing?
Who wants this?
No one.
Neo
No one
Nazis.
was
They
saying.
want to know that love
Please.
exists because they're complaining on Twitter that their politics makes it impossible for them to find a wife.
All right. Are you all ready for this? You can get this on paperback on Amazon.
Okay, hang on. Is it gonna get me in trouble?
I'm just gonna read this.
Kelly, just send the link to the Instagram.
Okay, because it's stupid. Okay, I'm just gonna go out there and tell everyone it's stupid. The
put
summary.
the link in the private chat.
Yeah, I will.
Put the
Don't
link in
worry.
the private chat, and then I'm pretty sure that I'm a mod on Nia's channel, and I will.
It's
Yeah.
so stupid, and it's like a MAGA hat romance. Ladies first. It's like, you know that woman's not gonna come first.
He's not gonna come at all.
Yeah,
I
and then
mean,
it's like it's only
that is
One-
more than I was ready for.
1.5 stars.
Oh,
I lost
this
my
is rated.
corner.
but
I'm not
you know
gonna
what?
Oh,
Well,
it
what
has,
did you guess it was going to be rated at? I know.
it
I'm
has
curious.
67 reviews. We're 2 away from a really fun number.
Hold on, wait. Someone said in the comments in the reviews, I've pooped better stories. My shampoo bottle contains better literature.
Oh.
Oh my.
You guys,
Oh.
this is me with no on the Twitter. Like, I just don't. Unless,
Okay, this isn't
unless
the book
something's
I pulled it
good, and
off.
then I go there to find out what it is.
Okay,
we
I
have
opened this video on YouTube, Nia, and I got an ad for my old birth control. Why is this happening?
What?
Okay, if we're going to talk about the ads, I get cool
your own.
sculpting. I get
At
cool
your
own
sculpting every time I'm on here, and I'm like, what is going on Nia's channel? That every time I get here, they're like, oh, you still fat? That's cool. I got cool sculpting for you. You're welcome. Thanks, you too.
Wow.
But those, since we're talking about this squeeze score, if it's like against books like a MAGA hat romance and the stupid Nazi romance book, then that's something I could get behind. But if they're just saying like a fantasy can't have a happy ending, then I don't understand.
I mean, a lot of fantasies also don't have happy endings, but I think what they're talking about is how it's not addressing today's issue in the fantasy world.
But do we want?
But
That-
does every book doesn't need to do that. So
Yeah.
Especially if it's commercial.
If your book doesn't, then you're all of a sudden you're commercial or mainstream, and you're not. It's not good. But
Like,
can we?
But I
not
like
have the
commercial
variety?
things, and sometimes commercial things do have interesting things.
Mhm.
Commercial things are commercial because they're popular and appeal to a wide number of people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not commercial.
commercial.
Then
And they
yeah,
make
so
the
that
rest
could
of
be
us
anything.
possible. You know,
So that
it's
could be
commercial
anything.
stuff.
So anything that becomes popular and picks up and people like it, all of a sudden it's mainstream and pop. And now
I mean, literary fiction, even if it becomes popular, no one will ever call it commercial. But other than that, like if you're in a genre, if you write genre fiction, that's automatically commercial. So if you're writing fantasy, hate to say it, you're commercial. Now you can say that someone like is a cop out because they're writing to market, which is something completely else and is a complete other debate that like I'm not saying my opinion right now. I'm just saying that's what some people say. But like if you say that my book is X genre, congratulations, you're writing commercial fiction.
Yeah.
So okay, just to
They're
summarize,
crushing those dreams. Just
yes.
they want writers of diverse background to be pigeonholed and to write into implementing those struggles into their fantasy novels, even if that's not the story that writer wants to write.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
my final capstone project is about is, here are marginalized voices, but they can write whatever they want. I'm not going to like force them to write about their trauma so that the publisher can make money.
Mhm.
Yes. And that's what a lot of us would like to do. I would like to tell the story about the little Black girl who just gets to be a superhero without the racism.
Yes.
That would be great. Can
Yeah.
we have that story? There's other things that can be the
It's like
challenge.
I write my stories and I don't have like all of the racism that I've had to deal with in them. Like in the future, that's not to say I never will, but like I had stories come to me a certain ways that wanted to be told a certain way, and it didn't include all my trauma in it.
Yeah,
I
and
think
some stories have a lot of trauma that has nothing to do with real life, and is in no way a reflection of anything except for the fact that your characters have a lot of issues.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be an expectation that any minority group should have to share their traumas in order to make to elevate a story anyway.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I took away from it that I liked was that they didn't really say that minorities had to tell these stories, but that there's just a misrepresentation of minorities in the books.
Yeah, which also is kind of weird. Not that it's kind of weird, but I think that this was happening for a while. People were saying if there's a Black character on a show and they aren't acting Black enough, but it's like, what does that mean? Because different people growing up in different spaces, that's not going to be the same. I don't have the same experience. I grew up mostly on military bases. My culture is some Black culture, but it's also much more was military culture. You know what I mean? And if you grew up in the military, you know what that means. It's so
We're
things
not the
that
same. Me and
Yeah.
Charlie.
yeah, we have neighborhoods, everyone has flags out. But if I were to go to see my family who live in inner city, when they would come, why has everybody got a flag? It's different. And I'm just like, no, it's fine. Just everybody's in the army or something. They just put flags out in front of it. So it means something different. It's just not the same. So to pigeonhole us all and say that our experience is this because you're this type of person, it's just like, no, that's not exactly my experience. So if I don't write about that, if I don't write about, either just some type of struggle, then it doesn't count. I don't like it. I just don't like it.
But what
I want to tell the story I want to tell, period.
But like Maggie is saying with the YA, is that the way they handle any of this is that it does come from a young adult perspective, where the young adult doesn't even represent the range of emotions. Like they don't, like they have no life. You come to this book and they have no life or experience to put into the page. young adults don't typically are like that, but they're talking about those type of books where the young adults don't bring anything to the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, another thing that I wasn't very into in this whole discussion was just the examples, because obviously we haven't laid out the entire podcast for you, but it's like how long is the podcast again, Sharon? You said that there were like two of
The
them.
first one was like almost 2 hours, and the second one was almost another 2 hours.
Yeah, so there's like I don't know, to me the attempt to explain this went over a lot of examples that contradicted themselves, and at one point they were talking about like articles versus novels, and that is what made it so confusing for me.
So
in the second podcast, they did specifically say this was about science fiction short stories, which in the first one you couldn't tell, were they talking about the whole range of science fiction, fantasy, novels, what were they talking about? But in the second one they clarified it.
So they set out with good intentions, but I all think we know what happens with good intentions.
There's a Discord on it
paved with good intentions.
I think there's a Discord called the Squeakcord Discord, or Squeakcord, or something like that.
Is anyone actually following this though? That's my question. Like we still don't know exactly what it is. We're just trying our best, and so if no one else is, like I think marginalized voices should be able to write whatever stories they want and not be pigeonholed. And it sounds like this wants them to pigeonhole their stories into a fantasy sci-fi setting, and it sounds stupid.
Do yourselves a favor, everyone, and
Okay. Yeah, it's at times it just felt like they were just adding in anything that they don't like. Seemed like that's what it was. That's why sometimes it seemed like it was contradicting itself to me. I was like,
yeah. It got to the point where it kind of sounded like it was just trying to gatekeep.
That too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but there
That's what I
were,
felt, too.
like I said, there were at times where it seemed like they were making good points, and I'm like, I can see that, or I can see this.
Yeah.
But
I think-
I'm that person. I never want to tell anybody, the story that you want to write or the story that you like is not good because it's going to be too mainstream or just too ordinary. It's not deep enough.
Right.
And
if I like my
a lot of
Marvel
us haven't
film,
had those stories. Like, I don't know a whole lot of stories where there is a Black protagonist or maybe an LGBTQI plus protagonist where they just get to go out and have fun and it's just a good time. You know what I mean? So just because the majority have had those stories doesn't mean that we've all gotten those stories. I haven't gotten a lot of those stories, so I'd like more. So
to go off of what Crow is saying in the comments,
I
agree, Crow. But those stories, I think we all can agree that those are just terrible, and I can't believe it's sold at auction. I think that's utterly disgusting.
Well,
for people who don't know, sold at auction means that publishing houses kept raising the price to buy the book.
Right.
Oh.
So I think
disgusting.
I think I don't know. My thing is it's a First Amendment issue. So if you want to write the story, that's fine. Don't cry about it when you get blowback from a wider, larger audience. And again, the publishers who bid that up we should all think about, like, are we buying books from them? Because I don't want to.
Also, though, you should make sure.
But that's that's the market making the choice.
But also, you should research on whether or not the publisher is actually being published by, like, the book is actually being published by,
or bought and
the
held,
big house, or if it's just being distributed. So Simon and Schuster's Josh Hawley book wasn't actually Simon and Schuster. They were distributing. Now you can be like guilty by association.
Yeah, but
it's not just like, oh, this big 5 publisher is connected to it.
Maybe the imprint that purchased it, right? Focus on the imprint and say, I would never want to buy anything, but good chance I wouldn't be anyway. But let the buyer decide. I don't think any of us are saying ban books, even ones with awful ideas like that.
No, we're saying let it flop, and then hopefully companies will be like, oh, this really hurt our bottom line. We won't do this again.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully.
And to join more book clubs.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I am going to call my library, my local library, on Monday and request a lot of the books that were banned for them to get in the library.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think everyone should, if you think about it during your day, you should call your local library, even if you have no intentions, because then that'll still get in the hands of other kids.
Sounds like a plan. Guys, we need to hop off of here. I'm going to let everybody do their outros. Thank you for joining us for this section of Authortubers React. If you want to join us live to talk about the Brandon Sanderson effect, if you want to know what's been going on, if you haven't heard about this massive Kickstarter, we're going to chat about all of that. And then we'll have some fun chat about our bookish pet peeves, anything about books themselves or writing or the books that we like to read that get on our nerves a little bit or a whole lot. We're going to have some fun chat. You can join us on Twitch. I put the Twitch link to my channel down in the chat somewhere. Oh, it's a day. It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
In there. Hop over there. We're going to take a 10, 15 minute-ish break. I'm going to get something to drink. Might try to grab something to eat. Guys, it's been a day. I'm happy to be here talking to everybody, but also I'm like,
She's
food.
on the struggle bus.
Yes.
Must get food. So we will be back in just a few minutes. Hop over to Twitch. And really quick, guys, give your outros, starting with Barrett. We're going to go clockwise around.
Hi, everybody. Come hang out with us at Twitch. The best half is the back nine. Zara.
My name is Zara
What's the batch
Hoffman. I'm a self-published author of 6 books, a young adult paranormal romance trilogy, and a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. And I host Writing Spreads every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel, in addition to being the co-creator of the Writish podcast with Kelli Write.
Hi, I'm Kelli Write. I'm a genre-hopping writer, not rotter. What am I thinking? I can't talk because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I have one functioning brain cell right now. I'm not so active on Authortube because I'm taking a break from uploading content, but I am making the podcast with Zara and co-hosting and doing things within the community. So yeah, that's as good as it's going to get right now.
That's a great outro though, or intro, depending on how you see it. My name is Charliee and I make videos about writing and journaling, and yeah, that's for Shanon.
Shannon, do we
Is she
still have
free?
you? We might be
No
frozen.
way.
She froze.
All right, Shannon is linked down below. She's got a great pose. Oh wait, she moved a little
She
bit.
back?
Don't move, because that pose is good. You look good, Shannon.
Yes, yes, this is a good screen.
Yeah. Shanon is linked below. Check out her channel if you're not following her. Shannon's also going to join us over on the Twitch side. Oh, she's moving. You got it, Shanon? You want to take it away? She's trying.
I'll see you on the Twitch side.
Yep. Oh.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in a few.